In the last video, part 1 on this end time series, we started with going over the beginning foundation anyone must have when understanding the end times. This is the Abrahamic covenant and how it went through the history of Israel. This understanding was extremely important to have if you're going to properly understand the Bible. Now, we're going to go through this comprehensively so that those without understanding can be properly taught the truth. The problem has always been that even though we have all these churches, they have been teaching false doctrines and not the full gospel. And if you finished the series about Martin Luther with me, you should be able to see just how all these false denominations have spurred up and grown further, spreading further lies and falsehoods. It is the goal of this ministry to help rectify this as much as possible through the power of Yah. I want to make sure that there's a resource that people can go to that allows them to understand the Bible and the end times that we're preparing for. So in the last episode, we ended with understanding the Abrahamic covenant and how Israel was split and scattered. Now, like I mentioned in the last video, the problem that people have is that they take that history and they automatically just jump to Messiah. They go from Abraham to Messiah. But it's important that we don't treat the word like this. Before I move into the part about our Messiah, it's important to understand that the prophets of Judah and Israel were receiving prophecies from Yah about their kingdom being rejoined and coming back into glory. In the history of Yasharel before they split, they had a period of greatness under their great king David. And this is important to understand because of the prophecies that were delivered from the prophets. There were a few key points to know. In Israel and Judah's captivity, the prophets prophesied of two key events. They prophesied of a Messiah, an anointed one who would be king and take the throne of David. And then they prophesied of the restoration of Israel. In order to understand the coming millennial kingdom, we must first go over some of the prophecies about Messiah. Let's begin. Okay, so like I said, if we're going to understand this topic about the end times, we must go over what was prophesied. A mistake people make today is trying to understand Bible prophecy from understanding what was written in the New Testament. But you cannot understand the scriptures and prophecy if you have not studied them in the Old Testament. And so if we're going to understand the millennial kingdom, you must understand what was prophesied of it. In a recent video I made, I was trying to explain how I dealt with preterists, but I did not realize how many people actually believed in that doctrine. There are a lot of false views running around the place. Everyone has a view of the millennial reign from the New Testament, but it's what is prophesied in the Old Testament that gives us the most understanding. And so what I have found is that when dealing with Bible prophecy, I am clashing with people because we are speaking about two different things. The Old Testament and New Testament, they line up perfectly with each other when studied in full. But people are relying solely on the New Testament to understand what our Messiah, our King, is going to do. And you just can't do that and expect to understand. So I'm going to be thorough with these scriptures so that understanding can be had. So first thing I want to go over is the prophecy of our Messiah. When we read the Old Testament and see prophecy about Messiah, it doesn't say Yahusha, it says David. This is because of all the prophecy about what David would be. So we're going to start here. We'll go to 2 Samuel chapter 7 when the prophet Nathan is speaking to David. Nathan tells David in verse 12 through 16, "When your days are fulfilled and you rest with your fathers, I will set up your seed after you, who will come from your body, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commits iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the blows of the sons of men. But my mercy shall not depart from him, as I took it from Saul, whom I removed from before you. And your house and your kingdom shall be established forever before you. Your thrones shall be established forever." Again, that's 2 Samuel chapter 7, verses 12 through 16. So Nathan prophesied to David that Yahuwah has proclaimed that he will set up David's seed after him. And this seed will come from his body, and he will establish his kingdom. Yah proclaimed that David's house and his kingdom will be established forever, and David's throne shall be established forever. Okay, so hold on, because we know that Solomon was next through this prophecy. But if you recognize, he said forever. So this throne continued after Solomon. Let's keep reading to gain more clarity. You see, this prophecy was foretold of later again by Isaiah, a prophet of Judah. In Isaiah chapter 11, there is prophecy that also goes right along with what Nathan prophesied. Verses 1 through 10 should be emphasized and read, but for time purposes, I will focus on verse 1. It says, "There shall come forth a rod from the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of its roots." That's Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. This is another direct prophecy of the Messiah who shall come from the line of Jesse, who was David's father. From these scriptures, we know that this covenant will come through a person because it comes from the line of Jesse. We also know that this is just not some event. We know that the covenant will be passed down the bloodline from King David, son of Jesse, from the tribe of Judah. So please keep that understanding, because as we go through the prophecies about the future, it will say David will be their king. And as I have read these prophecies and explained Yahusha as the fulfillment of them, people can get confused because it clearly says David. I have only made these conclusions because of these prophecies, among many more. If you understand that it will not be physically David, but David's throne passed down through his line, the understanding of Bible prophecy makes more sense. Let's read more about what's prophesied about the coming of Messiah. Okay, so if we keep going, the prophet Isaiah spoke a lot of prophecy in regards to the Messiah. So we should examine some of what he prophesied. Many of these prophecies compound on another, so let's examine a few and then collectively analyze what we gather. Therefore, Yahuwah himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. Also, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder, and his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there will be no end, upon the throne of David and over his kingdom, to order it and establish it with judgment and justice, from that time forward, even forever. The zeal of Yahuwah of hosts will perform this. That's Isaiah chapter 9, verses 6 and 7. So now we know that the Messiah will be a man. He will be conceived from a virgin. He will come into the world as a child. His name will be called Emmanuel. We also see many other things that he should be called. Now let me also just add that people get caught up on this verse, his name will be called Emmanuel, and they replace Yahusha's name with Emmanuel. Note, just because they say he will be called Emmanuel doesn't mean that that's his name. In Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6, it says the same thing. His name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, etc. These aren't his names, it's just how he will be referred to. It's how we would refer to him. The many things we would call him. Yahuwah gave our Messiah a name, and Yah's name is in his name. Yahusha meaning Yahuwah's salvation. Please don't misapply these scriptures. Okay, so also what we know from these verses, we know that there will be no end to his peace, and the government will be on his shoulders. This is just awesome. You can understand why Israel was in such anticipation of him. Let's keep going. In chapter 53, verse 9, prophecy shows that Messiah will be sinless and without deceit. Scripture says, "And they made his grave with the wicked, but with the rich at his death, because he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth." Isaiah chapter 53, verse 9. Verse 3 of the same chapter also shows the Messiah will be hated by man, and his nation would despise him. It says, "He is despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. As we hid, as it were, our faces from him, he was despised, and we did not esteem him." Isaiah chapter 53, verse 3. Also, in this same chapter, chapter 53, verses 5, 6, and 12, they say, "But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and Yahuwah has laid on him the iniquity of us all. Therefore I will divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong. because he poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. In these scriptures, Isaiah was prophesying the Messiah will be an atonement for the sins of mankind, that he will bear the sin of many, that he was marked with transgressors. So many prophecies foretelling of Messiah. It's important to really understand how Messiah ties in with the other nations. Isaiah speaks on the Messiah multiple times being a light for the Gentiles. In chapter 11, verse 10, he prophesies, "And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, who shall stand as a banner to the people. For the Gentiles shall seek him, and his resting place shall be glorious." Again, Isaiah chapter 11, verse 10. In chapter 42, verse 1, he says, "Behold, my servant whom I uphold, my elect one in whom my soul delights. I have put my spirit upon him. He will bring forth justice to the Gentiles." Isaiah chapter 42, verse 1. Verse 6 of that same chapter says, "I, Yahuwah, have called you in righteousness and will hold your hand. I will keep you and give you as a covenant to the people, as a light to the Gentiles." Isaiah chapter 42, verse 6. And lastly, chapter 49, verse 6 says, "Indeed," he says, "it is too small a thing that you should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore the preserved ones of Israel. I will also give you as a light to the Gentiles, that you shall be my salvation to the ends of the earth." Isaiah chapter 49, verse 6. You see, this is absolutely wonderful. His prophetic word telling of his gift to the world and covering not only Israel, but to the Gentiles, the other nations as well. I emphasize this because I want this to be clear that no matter who you are, you can be presented to Yah as long as you come through Yahusha. Israel is important and always will be. But if you desire to be a new creation and have your transgressions blotted out, you are able to because of Yahusha. Don't ever take this gift for granted. And these are some of the prophecies that are given in reference to our Messiah. Let me read through some. The Messiah must be a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The Messiah will bless all the nations of the earth. He is an everlasting covenant for everyone. The everlasting covenant will come from King David, being a root of Jesse from the tribe of Judah. The Messiah will be a man. He will be conceived from a virgin. He will come into the world as a child. His name will be called Emmanuel. There will be no end to his peace. The government will be on his shoulders. The Messiah will be anointed with the Spirit of Yahuwah. The Messiah will be sinless, without deceit. The Messiah will be hated by man, and his nation will despise him. The Messiah will be a light to the Gentiles. And lastly, the Messiah will conquer death. And there is a lot more to this. Again, the PDF to this will be in the description box. It's on my website. From these prophecies, you now know what we are to expect from our Messiah based on the actual prophecies. And this should help you understand him through the Gospels and understand why we believe he is the Messiah. And that's important. But there is a next layer to this understanding. Because yes, though these prophecies help us see why Yahusha is the Messiah being referenced in all these prophecies, what people don't recognize is that there was still more prophecies that Yahusha has yet to fulfill. There is still more prophesied for him to do. And this is one of the main understandings missing when we understand Yahusha. Because we believe he is the Messiah sent, but we also don't know what we should be expecting from him in the future. And this is what we need to go over. Remember, this is an end time series. I'm just providing foundational understanding so you can properly follow. Because as I continue and David is prophesied to return as king, now you have a better understanding of why I say this is Yahusha. It's part of a full view of prophecy. So we will stop the video here and pick it back up again on the next one as we continue to understand what the prophecies are about our Messiah in regards to the end times. I hope this series is bringing clarity to your understanding as we prepare for our King. Know him and prepare for him and accept Yahuwah's gift of grace and be blessed. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Okay, thanks again for watching. If this has blessed you, please don't forget to like this and share this video with others. Please send this video to anyone that you know. Let's teach the world about our Messiah. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to this channel. Yah willing, I upload every Friday. Also, please don't forget to follow this ministry on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on my website, truthunedited.com. If you no longer see this channel on this platform, please look for my videos on my website. Listen, thank you again for watching. I'm thankful for all of you. Thank you especially to those Yah has placed it on your hearts to give, and you have done so. Thank you for your assistance in carrying out this ministry every week. Thank you for your blessings and your prayers. They truly support this ministry. You have no idea. Thank you for your obedience to Yah's call on your heart. Be blessed. Okay, thanks again everyone for watching. I love you all.